You're listening to The Front Porch Show. Some shows are niche shows, talking about specific topics. Others, shows about nothing. This show is the show about everything. On The Front Porch Show, we'll talk about current events, some news, a little bit of politics, along with a whole lot of life. Welcome to Our Front Porch. 1-402-799-1811, I think, is the message line number.
Is this the diseased and confused edition of the Front Porch Show?
Yes, this is the 1.0 diseased and confused edition.
Woo!
Here we go.
We are here. We've got Ozzy, we've got Tombstone, we've got Mathis, and we do not have Jeff because Jeff is
Diseased
at a
and
mysterious
Jeff is spreading the coronavirus around the country as part of his profession.
That's right. And from the last report, it appears he is at a Trump convention.
Yeah, what
I think
was
that was from CPAC. That was a CPAC
That is so
picture.
random.
That's not somewhere
he was at
actually
CPAC
went.
where he got
the coronavirus. Everybody else, apparently, the rest of the country got coronavirus at CPAC, along with half of President Trump's and Vice President Pence's advisors. But I'm sure everything is fine. I'm sure everything is just peachy. There's no way that the president or vice president could get sick.
Okay,
I'm
guys,
sure everything is fine.
I gotta bounce a crazy conspiracy theory off you guys.
I love it when
Do
you
you
start
think
the shows
Trump
with
would
a
look
conspiracy
like he
theory.
was sick?
Okay.
Like, how do you tell if Trump is sick? Does he turn like white instead of orange?
Trump is doing a bump of Adderall every 4 hours. We wouldn't know if he was sick.
You buy into that conspiracy theory?
I actually don't, because Trump has never, as far as anybody knows, Trump has never done drugs, recreational or otherwise.
Except for the fact that his person went and bought prescription diet pills, which is basically the same thing, at the pharmacy around the corner from his building. I mean, that's kind of proof. That's like
That's not proof.
Okay,
that's
fine.
Circumstantial evidence.
Evidence. I mean,
I'm not saying it's not nothing. It's just it doesn't quite rise to the level of solid proof.
I mean,
but you know me, I have such a high standard for proof where President Trump is concerned because he's my homeboy. When I'm not,
so you'd crawl over a mile of crushed pills for.
Oh no! He'd crawl over a mile of Corona infected glass.
No,
to get to Trump at this point.
No,
okay.
when I'm not busy maligning his policies, I'm busy plotting how many times I'm going to vote for him in how many counties.
Was it this week or was it last week that he finally admitted this thing was kind of real?
I honestly am not sure he has completely admitted it.
Because we had that big press conference that I watched with him in it.
Weird.
Was that last week or was that this week?
That was last week.
That was last week. Okay.
I mean, he's had a press conference this week or something.
Like every day he's at a press conference.
That big one was last week. It was like Saturday.
I haven't watched a single Trump press conference since he became president. So
well, that's why you're crawling over broken glass.
Right, seriously.
It's like that's what's wrong with you.
That would have ruined it for you already.
Yeah,
that's why.
I don't like watching him speak. I know he's a terrible speaker, and he often does not make a lot of sense. I do know this.
As I mentioned to you guys, watching him do a speech is like watching us do the show. He has the speech in front of him, right? And then all of a sudden, the peanut gallery in his head just starts talking.
Yes, it's true.
Just randomly cuts into the story.
I love how he just goes, we have the best people that are helping, and they're really good.
But he's like, no, you got to
best, and he just keeps describing like
you got to say it right though. He's like,
here's an adjective. Here's this. Here's that.
He'll be like, yes, and from the private sector we have so and so CEO of such and such and Dr. so and so helping us. Oh, they're the best. Oh, they're the best ever. Have you seen their work? Have you seen what they've done?
I don't think yours is better than mine.
I'm just saying you have to say something super serious to begin with, like on script, and then just totally float off script.
And they are the best. And then his hands, he's always got like the okay sign. They are the best.
I'm sorry, Ozzy. I don't do a good Trump, but I do a real good Clinton.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, where are we going with this?
Who would you rather have in charge right now? Would you rather have Obama or Trump?
Man.
Let me rephrase that. Did the Ebola response convince you?
Based on Ebola and swine flu,
I didn't honestly.
Those are really bad responses. But so here's the thing. With Ebola and swine flu,
and this is not in the interest of absolving. Absolving Trump.
Yeah,
I think the bureaucracy at the CDC is sclerotic is the word I would use. But
wow, that's a word. I don't even know what that means.
It means
I don't know what that means, but I'm going to look it up.
It's a. I can't even remember what it means. I should know what it means.
I know scholastic.
If you use the word, you should know what it means, Tombstone.
It's like a disease.
How do you spell it?
Sclerosis. Yeah. Sclerotic.
That's
a bone disease, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there you go. So the bones are rotten.
Yeah.
At the CDC.
It's not Scotic. Scotic is different. That's actually relating to the ancient Scots. So
right, I got that. Thank you.
So man, I don't know. That's a good question.
So the dictionary gives a colloquial definition, which means becoming rigid and unresponsive, losing the ability to adapt. I think that's a perfect definition.
So
has Trump ever had the ability to adapt?
So
I'm not talking about Trump. Trump actually is adaptive. We just don't like how he's adapting. But the CDC is a different animal altogether.
I think my biggest issue with the whole thing is that, according to the reports, they were getting reports back in January saying this could be possibly a pandemic, and then Trump piling on, no, this is fine, nothing's wrong. And I understand that.
How many times have they gotten that same thing, though? That's the question.
I mean, we had that with swine flu, and we had that with Ebola. We had that with swine flu and Ebola.
Right.
I really think, I mean, I shouldn't say all that saved us because it was not a small thing, but Ebola is a disease that spreads because of particular environmental conditions in Africa. And honestly, a lot of people thought that about the Buga flu. They thought the reason it was spreading so hard in China is because of the environmental conditions and the social situation. And that has turned out very possibly not to be the case.
Yeah.
And I have to confess, I was somewhat in that group, but
you said that 100 times.
Yeah, I'm also not the CDC, so
it's true. You should have known better.
And I was flexible. Like I hoped that was the case, but I still went out and bought 6 weeks worth of groceries a month and a half ago.
Why would you admit that? Why would
I not admit that?
I don't know. People might come into your house and be like, "Hey, where's your groceries?"
It's not like I'm sitting on 40 pounds of gold coins. Sitting
like
on
Ozzy.
6 pounds of ground beef. It's not the same.
So
I'm telling you, man.
So
listen, you know what we should have invested in? Toilet paper, buddy. Let me tell you. Like, what in the world? That's apparently where it's at. I thought it was going to be like gold and or bullets or something like that people would be trading. No, it's bath tissues. So
Tombstone's sitting there at his desk today with his currency.
I guess that's what happens when the stuff hits the fan.
I keep my fortune close by. I figure this one's worth at least $150.
Stack them high and deep.
That's right.
So, guys, conspiracy theory. This is just Trump trying to drain the swamp.
No.
Yes.
Wait.
Yes.
Were we not all over conspiracy theory already?
Yes. This is Trump draining the swamp.
All right. Prove it.
Okay. So
is this before or after the 50,000 sealed indictments come down?
I don't know. I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
You don't remember the 50,000
I remember that
indictments from a year and a half ago?
Which never happened.
It never happened.
Happened.
Boomers blown out of the water yet again. Sorry, boomers.
So do you know why Trump stood there with such confidence at his press conference a week and a half ago?
Because he literally does not know how to not be confident.
Because he still hasn't made the realization of what's happening?
Well, no. It's because he knew the virus wasn't real.
Because he's been on Shark Tank.
It's because he knew the virus wasn't real, and that even though all of Brazil has it right now,
my
knew
brain
it wasn't
cells,
real.
My brain cells are fleeing my skull cavity as you.
Yep.
As
this is a conspiracy theory I was told this week.
Yeah,
and that they are already setting up concentration camps to arrest 500,000 people. And
which people? The swamp or us?
The swamp. They're gonna.
Wait,
so this is why Pence's guy just got sick. Pence's guy just got sick because Pence is going to be quarantined, and then they can find him and arrest him easier.
I feel like you're actually doing our audience a disservice right now.
I'm just saying that is a conspiracy theory I heard this week.
You got to at least give me a convincing conspiracy theory.
Yeah, there was literally no convincing behind it.
Here's my conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah,
here you go. You ready? Here's mine that I heard
because Ben doesn't know anything about conspiracies.
So here is exactly what I heard: is that it is China who is not happy about how they're trying to restructure all of the trade, and so they're basically doing a screw you guys, and which is why it's coming over to the United States. Also, why it's
taking
not
out 20% of the population of Italy on the way.
Also, well, it was basically just to crash our economy. But I guess why not take out the rest of the world too?
I mean,
but that's also why
at least we can see that has already happened. So this conspiracy theory is already better than Aaron's conspiracy theory. So you're moving up the ranks right now.
That's also why Russia doesn't have many cases, is because Russia and China are in cahoots. And China didn't. No. Listen to my conspiracy theory here. Don't refuse me my conspiracy theory. Because Russia and China are in cahoots, and that's why. That's why Russia doesn't have many cases.
Now look,
you know that Russia and China have never been in cahoots.
Listen,
they actually hate each other's guts.
This is what I heard. This is what I heard from somebody at work, and I just stood there.
I heard.
I'm well aware of that.
Oh my god!
I heard this was an entire thing to prevent Trump from getting reelected. That's what I heard, and that this wasn't real, and that it was just the deep state trying to tell.
If it's not real, like, what are they just killing people off?
Yeah, why would Italy quarantine their entire population?
They're just abducting homeless people.
I'm telling you, it's those Democrats, man. Those Democrats, they're just quarantining entire countries just to get Trump not reelected.
Not on that happy note.
That's what they're doing.
This is going to be the whole show. If you're wanting
what else is there? What else is there? What else is there for news? There's no other news. It's terrible, guys.
It is.
It's like you have coronavirus and you have everything else that's happened this week that is related to coronavirus
or deaths. That's all there is.
As I said, this episode is going to be diseased and confused, and that's all there is to it.
Yes,
that's all there is. That's all we have.
All right.
And ammo, apparently. And ammo. That's weird, Tombstone. Yeah. And toilet paper.
I'm ready for the end.
Stack it high. Stack it deep. We'll be right back with more tin foil.
I'm going to stream it live on YouTube.
Ooh.
If there is a YouTube.
I bet you they're part of it. They're in cahoots with Russia and China.
I wanted to do, at the end, I wanted to do like products liability, as in, if that camera explodes all over that guy, we'd sue the camera company and their insurance company, you see.
Out of Yale, out-rebound Baylor. You go up and grab the ball off the rim when it comes off, and then you grab it with two hands, and you come down with it, and that's considered a rebound. So they got more of those than we did.
Has there ever been a man?
The guy brought me from Borneo, which was kind of nice of him. He couldn't get me a shrunken head, so I got a T-shirt.
Has there been a man more for our time than Coach Leach? I submit
no,
there's not.
And it's just glorious that he's down in Mississippi.
Has he said anything about this virus? That's what we need to look
Oh,
up.
man, that's a good question. That is a really good question. What has Coach Leach said about coronavirus? He probably thinks it's fake.
Let's see.
I don't know.
He said he probably made some comment about coronavirus's fat girlfriend.
Guys, he probably did. So there's no sports. There's no racing on TV.
Which I don't understand the point of no sports at all.
Well, it's
no
to
audience.
not spread the virus.
I understand not putting people in stands.
Most of the money from sports comes from the people in the stands. A lot of it.
I got you.
A lot of that money comes from the people. But
is it worth canceling an entire season? I mean, everybody's at home. People would watch right now. It'd be great. Imagine if you could put on a conference call and tune in.
But think about it though. If you get, like, for instance, with the NBA, you had like one or two people who had it, right? Well, I guess it was one definitive person, right, that had it.
I think there's two now.
All right. So if you have that one person and then all of a sudden, like, you have disregarded life, especially for celebrities, that means that you're going to go downhill with all of your ratings and everything, which could be even worse because then you have people mad at your network because you made these people play and endangered their lives.
So I guess the point is that there is a significant risk of transmission if you put a bunch of sweaty dudes on the court.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the audience. That makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah.
It still
unless
sucks,
you're playing like bowling
ice
or
hockey,
curling or something.
Ice hockey should be safe, right?
No.
Not really.
No. Freeze the virus.
We were This is why you don't work for the CDC.
I don't know.
This is why watch sports?
Clearly, no.
Okay, guys.
I actually don't watch sports.
This is the reason why cricket is safe because nobody's near anybody.
That's true.
Nothing happens.
True. By that, well, I guess baseball, you still have to do the bases, but
yeah.
When does baseball season already start? Is it already started and now done?
No. Spring season was postponed, and it is not
okay.
Technically, it hasn't started officially yet. Like, it started with all the spring training and everything else.
I think next week or the week after it was supposed to be the official.
I know I'm going to sound like an insufferable dork saying this, but there's no major sport that I actually follow, so I'm not emotionally invested in this, but I understand a lot of people are, and it's not like I look down. I am
emotionally invested in this, and I will go on a rant if you want me to.
Yes, please.
Right now, my wife bought me tickets to 6 soccer games because I'm a big MLS fan, right? And I understand most people are not, but I am missing like 3 of those games because of this stupid virus. Because they just went from a 2-week, moving it 2 weeks to now starting on May the 10th, which means that I'm going to be missing like 3 games. And I understand they're going to, get all this stuff. And we're also missing a concert. We were supposed to go see Michael Bublé today. I was supposed to take my wife to see that. And we're missing that tue.
Michael Bublé.
Yes.
Aaron, have you ever seen Michael Bublé?
Of course not. Do I look like a girl?
No, but you're married to a girl.
Yeah, well.
Okay, just curious.
Hey, I'm just saying, happy wife,
just like I haven't seen Michael Bolton either.
My wife and I have never gone to a concert. It's kind of sad.
Really?
Wow.
No.
Oh, I took my wife to a couple.
Were they concerts she wanted to go to?
Strangely enough, yes, they were.
I remember Alyssa loved TSO. I don't know what else he took her to, but
Trans-Siberian Orchestra. She loved Skillet.
So Ben, I sympathize with your
1,000-foot
predicament, and I hope that you actually do get to go to the other 3 games because it's a possibility you may not get to go.
Yeah, they're basically, from my understanding, they're just going to tack them on at the end of the season and just make the season longer.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure how exactly that's going to work. But listen, everybody will understand. It's south of Philly, about 15 miles south of Philly. It's right over one of the bridges. So, so we were supposed to go to those games, which was a Christmas gift, and now I can't, and it sucks.
So my wife bought me a ticket to go see Itzhak Perlman here in Greenville, the Peace Center, and it was canceled like 2 days before. It was a real bummer.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel your pain.
Yeah, it sucks. And I think the other problem is it's just like I was expecting ESPN's response to be better because they're just getting on to doing replays of like old games and stuff like that. Like I thought that would have been something that would have been quicker.
Right.
They would have been like, hey, you know what? Here's our entire library.
3 or 4 days?
Yeah. Oh, 3 or 4 days, like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So and I would have expected them to be like, hey, here's our entire library worth of like championship games over the past 20 years. Have fun.
Yeah, if I was them,
like
I would have put that
like
stuff all up in the cloud and then charge subscription fee like $5 a month to watch all of it while you're sitting at home on your conference calls.
Right, something. And then have you guys noticed that there's like a lot of radio stations? This is how you can tell that we're actually so much better than any radio station, is because we're in right now 3 separate states,
thousands of miles
away, and these radio stations are doing the same thing we're doing. And
as Ozzy just cuts out there. No.
Yes, I know, right?
You couldn't have planned that any better.
I know, right?
So what are you saying? They're doing the same thing we're doing?
Yeah, I've been listening to ESPN radio, and they're all in separate places now at their houses and everything else, and their audio quality is terrible.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Can I have a small rant? I may have done this before.
Shows that this is happening on.
There is no excuse for crappy VoIP quality.
There isn't.
Over IP.
There isn't.
Even if you're at home on a conference call, just don't use your laptop microphone. Go get a $25 headset. It's great.
Especially for these billion-dollar companies.
Right.
Like this is ESPN.
Yes.
I mean, look,
you're talking about,
guys,
and they can't have good audio quality for.
I just want to say
for their shows.
The Front Porch Show threw down $60 for the mics. So.
Yes. We had to supply our own headphones, but we did that.
Yes,
we were
that's
glad
right.
to do it.
That's right.
$60 for a microphone is not bad.
No, it wasn't.
No,
it really wasn't.
I use a $25.
And this quality is decent. I'm happy with it.
I use a $25 Logitech headset for my conference calls at work, and it's not as good as this, but it's clear.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no excuse using a laptop microphone.
No.
Just don't do it. It's evil. Horrible.
It's like, if Tombstone wasn't sitting in front of a brick wall,
literally in front of a brick wall.
What about my brick wall?
Your brick wall reverberates.
Oh, do I need to turn down my gain?
No.
Just tear down the wall.
Turn down the brick wall.
Turn down.
What Aaron's trying to say is the same advice he gave to Reagan.
Tear down that wall.
Tear down that wall.
Which amazingly, when I saw him on TV, he gave the same order to Mikhail Gorbachev. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was just simply amazing. So, guys, how has your life changed in the last week? So. I mean, last week it was still a little surreal. We were talking lockdown in more of a humorous sense, and now everyone's like locking down. I mean, 10 people, no more than 10 people can gather at an event. I mean, in most states.
So right now, South Carolina.
Oh, you're at 50 still?
Yeah,
we're at 10 in Nebraska.
Right now,
why? Because they don't want people getting together with their families.
Mormons are blown away by this one weird trick.
Now we know why. Now we know what Corona's all about.
It's about paring down the Mormon population.
That's it. That's definitely it.
You have to exile your third wife to a different house.
Did you see the meme about the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're like Jehovah's Witnesses, and the guy's like really excited. He's like Jehovah's Witnesses, knowing that everyone will actually be home.
Yes. I gotta say, they haven't been out to my house in a long time.
I'm surprised they can find you.
Well,
I was gonna say
we're not that far out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, like the last time they were here, Alyssa talked to them for a little bit and told them that we were very involved in the church and had no interest in joining another cult.
Because you're already in a cult.
Not right. Yeah.
Oh.
Sure. No.
Not anymore. The government broke up that 10 people.
You said another cult. I was just riffing off what you said.
You did. It's true.
It was a joke there.
But I'm.
Yes.
So
yes,
I went to Cherrydale. I haven't been down to Woodruff Road and I haven't been down to Haywood Road, but I did go down to Cherrydale yesterday in Greenville. For those of you in Greenville, there's a large shopping center there. The shopping center was dead, except for Chick-fil-A. It was dead. Because all the stores are actually
nothing
closed.
Will stop Chick-fil-A.
But I'm actually very deeply concerned because retail stores can't pay their employees, so their employees are not making any money, which means they're not going to be spending any money for the next months, probably. Yeah. Honestly, it'll take them to recover from this. So
yeah,
I really think the economy is about to take. I mean, obviously the stock market's already bad. We won't see that reflected in spending numbers for another few weeks at least, whenever the quarter rolls over and the numbers are available. But it's going to be a bloodbath.
It's going to be bad. I mean,
can they lock down the stock market?
They have. It's shut down as of yesterday. As of yesterday, they shut down the stock.
Shut down completely.
As far I believe so. I believe it's shut down indefinitely for right now.
I mean, I know they had the breakers in place. Hang on.
So I'm pretty sure I read the other morning that it is shut down as of yesterday afternoon.
Well, let's see.
Was the last day of trading, but I could be wrong.
I don't think so. They have been shutting it down in small intervals as they've taken the massive losses to the Dow. But as far as I know, it's still open.
Why would they keep it open?
The thing is,
it's people like me need to buy stock. That's why.
People need to buy stock. Seriously, I mean, people are still trading. People are still making money. Every time it takes a dip, people are still making money. So that's the power of options.
Well, yeah, but they're pinching down on the options though. They're not allowing options as they used to, and I don't know what the details are on that, but I do know. I do know they are.
I'm looking at Wall Street Bets right now on Reddit.
Anyway, to get back to the question at hand that we've obviously.
So my work is taking a hit. My work's taking a big hit. And
I bet.
I mean, I'm in the housing inspection industry and in the insurance side of things, and the number of new client policies that have come down the pipe are insane.
In terms of what? Well, what are you seeing?
So I'm not able to do any interior inspections now on houses, which was our bread and butter. Like, it was that's where we make our good money. You can't like
substitute. You just can't do them at all.
Some of them we can do the exterior inspections, but we can't do interiors on them. But that means another trip to the property, which bites sometime in the future. Commercial properties, we're still kind of doing commercial properties, except for habitationals. Like apartment buildings and stuff. Can't do those. Right. We can't do... Certain companies are just pulling out. They're done for right now. And I've probably seen a 50% decrease in workload over the last 2 weeks. And so I'm like, man, this is... Yeah. I'm as of right now, I'm taking the next 4 days off. And I can't make any money. So I'm staying home.
Yeah,
I'm better off.
Are they working with you in terms of adjusting your density and pushing some stuff back so you can get more done in one trip?
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I don't care what they say. I mean, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's either I lose my job or I lose money.
I mean, it basically, which speaks to the real point here, which it remains to be seen how flexible lenders and property owners and landlords, et cetera, are, and really, when I say lenders, I don't mean like your neighborhood bank. I mean the big bank that your neighborhood bank is borrowing money from. Yeah, how flexible everyone is going to be in the next couple of months, because if everybody stays rigid, people are going to get wiped out.
Right, so and you're going to see a bigger hit to the stock market than we've seen this past week.
Now, here's something you may not know though. I found out this week that for some small business loans, it is actually better for the bank if you declare bankruptcy, because then the bank, that loan is insured by the feds, and then the bank gets all their money back if you default on the loan.
Yep.
So I see, and I only bring that up. I don't know what all the ramifications are, except that there will probably be shenanigans in the next 6 months, 18 months.
Of course there will. Of course there will. So I've heard floated around interest-free personal loans from the government, backed by the government. I've seen interest-free business loans backed by the government.
I really don't think loans are the answer. I think I think relaxed terms of payment are the answer.
I agree. I agree
loans
with
are
you.
just going to make it worse.
I agree with you.
We have too many loans now.
Yes, I agree with you. I completely agree.
And I get that it's going to be tough for everybody, but again, the problem is not even just for the big banks; it's for the central banks, the state-owned banks that the big banks are borrowing from. Like, it goes all the way up the chain. It's actually, from what I understand, the chain of dominoes is quite tall and quite large.
So over the last 2 weeks, the Fed has quantitatively eased like $2 billion. I think it's a lot more than that. Not $2 billion. It was $2 trillion. Excuse me, $2 trillion.
Yes,
that's enough to give every citizen a cool 10 million with change.
I'll take
it. 10,000. Sorry, guys.
When you get
I'm doing
CNN math here. I'm sorry.
I'll take 100,000. Just give me 100,000. I'll be fine.
So, not to put too fine a point on it, but I'm pretty sure you could forgive your student loans for the entire country for that kind of money.
Yes, you could. That was 1.5 trillion. Tombstone.
I don't want to talk about it.
But that's beside the point, Tombstone.
So I know, but I guess.
Well, the irony is, we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
I'm not actually saying that to score points.
No. I know.
I'm more saying that to point out what a ridiculous amount of money.
Right.
Yes.
It is. Yeah. It is. We'll have to get into the whole thing of. I think somewhere in here we're going to get into the giving everybody mony.
Right, the freedom bucks. The gang bucks. The Trump bucks.
Trump bucks.
That's so confusing, guys.
Yep.
I can't.
Yep.
Listen,
we'll get into
it's almost like the old political lines don't apply anymore.
Yeah,
it's like everything is weird now.
Everything is weird.
I've been hearing that across text messages for like the past week. I don't know. I think it was Jeff.
Have you guys been seeing anything weird in the supermarkets or anything this last week?
Do not give Jeff credit for my brilliance. Okay.
I'm sorry, Debbie.
Jeff.
We thought it was Karen.
Jeff has plenty of his own brilliance. He doesn't need any of mine. I need what little I can keep. I need to get credit for what few good ideas I have.
I have been seeing a lot in people. All right, so we're a shore town, right? Right now, this is our low time. Spring is when everything starts ramping up, and it starts getting really busy around here in like June, May and June is when it starts really getting busy, and people start coming down. They start fixing up their houses. Anyway, and we're seeing those numbers right now, like how busy it is. Like, people are coming down here, they're buying stuff. All these yahoos from New York need to just stay where they're at.
Yahoos?
I can't say what I really want. You'd have to quack me like we did with Jeff last week.
That was an awful lot of quacks.
You had to quack Jeff?
Oh, we had an entire segment with like 6, 8, 10 quacks.
It was great.
I gotta go listen to that now.
It was great. So what we're seeing is people are coming down here and buying like spring has come already. Well, obviously it has, but we're seeing the numbers that we usually don't see for another month to 2 months that are coming down here, and they're bringing their disease with them, which is amazing. Thank you, New York. But that's what we're seeing is an increase in people, plus everybody else who's, I guess, panic buying at this point in time.
Yeah, that's crazy. We haven't seen that out here. Granted, there's a lot of people in denial out here in Nebraska. Now, we do have...
Isn't that kind of understandable because your population...
But that's because they can't get into any groups larger than 10.
So we have an incredibly low population density. Yeah,
they may not even know more than 10 people.
Our suggestion is only 10 people gathering at a time.
Yeah,
have they shut down restaurants in Omaha?
And I believe restaurants in Omaha are just takeout only. And in the rest of the state, that's either advised or strongly suggested. And most of this is all strongly suggested, at least in Nebraska. I heard from Ben Henning, though, was it New Jersey or New York? It's by force. They are threatening to arrest people.
It's not New Jersey.
Okay, not New Jersey.
New Jersey, it's technically still strongly suggested.
It may be municipality, though, in New Jersey, if I remember correctly.
It's possible because most of our most, if not probably 90% of our cases are people that are from New York or Philadelphia.
Right,
so you can add I don't know, what is it, 800 people, I think at this point, 800 something people that have it in New Jersey right now. You could probably give 700 of those people back to New York because that's all Manhattan people who just commute and live in New Jersey but commute to Manhattan to work.
Right.
So that's where we're at. But yeah, so far so far we're not completely locked down. Apparently today our Governor Murphy is going to lock down everything except for essentials.
Right.
It's the rumor going around. So we'll find out.
I mean, Nebraska's not that far yet, but as I said, a lot of people are still in denial. But we also have one of the lowest rates in the entire country as of yet. We're, I think, low 10. I think we've got 38 cases or something as of today.
Well, your tourist industry isn't exactly booming all the time.
I mean, look, remember, our motto is it's not for everyone.
Right, exactly.
And apparently it's not for Corona either.
Yeah.
So I really think the social distancing has helped here and has
I mean,
decreased
that's
the spread.
just how Nebraska does life, though, right?
Right.
Well, no. Yeah, I don't know why.
I'm actually not
Nebraska has this hilarious
I was being a little bit silly, but I mean, Nebraska's a pretty low population.
So we've got what, 2 million people in the entire state, 1.5 million.
South Carolina has 4 million people, and it's like half the size.
Yeah,
we have almost 9 million people. Apparently, my state is the most densely populated state in the union.
So
you're humped. Sorry, Ben. You should just sign off now and go hug your kids.
I had an inspection the other day of a farm, and I drove down a 22-mile one-way driveway.
What?
Yeah. It was.
Wow.
I mean, there was
you weren't lost in in Australia or something.
So it's technically this was a county road, but it's a one-way road, it's a two-way road, but it's like one lane the whole way.
Right.
And there was 3 houses down the entire 22 miles.
All right. I have a serious question about this.
Yeah.
When you were coming back, were you singing Country Road, Take Me Home?
I certainly was. Of course I was. It was
funny,
desolate.
Tombstone.
So
I wanted to sing it.
What is
I just
this link that you just posted?
So get this, guys. I go to this house.
I'll explain it in a minute. I know it looks ugly, but because it is ugly.
I go to this house and I inspect it, and the person there is like, "Hey, we got to go to the other property and get pictures of the other property." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Where's that?
That's exactly what I asked. And the person goes, "Oh, 2 miles or so." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I'll meet you over there." Now, mind you, I'm running on fumes in my car because some idiot forgot to get fuel at the last big town he passed through.
Oh.
And so I've got it's 40 miles back to the town I just came through, 70 miles to the next town, and I've got approximately 65 miles worth of fuel. And she's like, "Oh, we're going to go over to the other place." And I'm like, "Oh." And she goes, "You can just ride with me in the side-by-side," which is, one of those ATVs that you sit side by side in. And we're cruising up this road at 60 miles an hour.
Some of those ATVs can move.
It was terrifying. It was terrifying.
But here's the thing. That ATV probably has a better suspension than what you have in your truck.
It maybe, but I certainly guarantee you if we crashed, we were dying.
It had a roll cage, right?
It was like
were you strapped in?
No, there were no seat belts.
Why did you?
There were no seat belts. There were no seat belts. It was like 6 miles, guys. It was 6 miles.
And you did it in what, 3 minutes?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, seriously.
It was terrifying. And then we had to go back. We had to ride back. It was so terrifying.
Country road.
I wasn't worried about Corona at that point. I was worried about the side by side.
Aaron's like, my wife's gonna get a call from the state trooper. Tell her I have a broken neck on the side of a road in a ditch.
And the funny thing is, the state trooper wouldn't even have found us. 22 miles, Tombstone. There hasn't been a trooper on that road in 8 years.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh man. Anyways, they didn't even know Corona was a thing. when I was talking to him. And that just goes to show you the disconnect.
That's how refreshing.
Yeah, it was.
I want to move to Nebraska now and buy a farm.
It was pretty cool. Like, they had no concern. I asked them when they go to town, and they're like, when we need to. I was like, is it like once a week, once a month?
It's probably once a month. They go into the big town that's got 20 people.
So I'm like, so like, what do you do? And he's like, well,
town's really grown.
He goes, we drive 70 miles south to the doctor's office. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, and our bank is, and he names the town like 70 miles to the northwest.
Jeez.
He's like, we bank up there. And I'm like, that's 140 miles between these two towns. And he's like, oh, it is, isn't it? Yeah, I guess. And it doesn't even faze them.
This is the you have like the really old like 1970s Ford pickup that's got the bench seat. And, the dog comes with you, and you just cruise at like 40 miles an hour the whole time because you're not aware that the speed limit's 70.
The irony is they had three of my pickup, which is the 2000 era F-350s. Mm-hmm. They had 3 of them sitting there.
Well, if you have 3, if one breaks down, you're still
that's
good to
right,
go.
and you can swap parts.
Seriously.
So, I mean, that's the thing. That's why Ed had like 5,000 Pontiac 3.3s
Pontiac Grand Ams, man,
with the GM 3.36 cylinder.
That's crazy. That's good times. But I don't know. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was crazy at the time, but now that I've studied logistics, it makes a lot of sense. And if you only learn how to work on one car, you just keep that car around.
Month and a half ago, I dropped $150-200 on tickets for a hockey game next weekend.
Oh no!
Still haven't been told it's getting refunded.
Still haven't been told.
Feel the pain. Feel the pain.
I know.
When the Peace Center canceled my concert with Itzhak Perlman, they sent me my money the same day.
Oh,
they mailed the check the same day. So I got my $85 back. Actually, my wife's $85.
None of my concerts or games have actually been canceled. They just said keep the tickets. They're going to be rescheduled, and your ticket will be good for when it gets rescheduled.
I looked it up 5 minutes ago, and the whole entire season has been canceled. Entire hockey.
No. Guys, I'm telling you, it will take years. This might actually be worse than 2008. I'm seriously concerned. I'm not concerned about my job so much because I'm literally in a recession-proof industry, but everybody else I'm worried about.
Do you think though? I was talking with
I'm nervous
with
for
somebody.
Right now.
I was talking with somebody, and they were saying like that this is going to be completely different than 2008 because we haven't technically gone into like this isn't a money crisis. I
think it could rapidly develop into a money crisis though, because people are going to start defaulting on loans.
It's possible, yes, yeah, but as in it's not the same though as what I've heard. Apparently there were a bunch of big executives that got together or something from somewhere.
I hope for all our sakes it's not the same. I hope that people can avoid making the same mistakes, that we can mitigate. But I think either way it will be tough.
Do you think going on that line, do you think that this is going to change how America gets products from China? Do you think this will reduce the amount of products that we get from China? Do you think it's not going to make a difference at all?
Aaron and I were having this conversation sort of the other day. I think at a minimum, so I'm not against global trade, but I do think we should restructure our tariffs so that we can at least be somewhat competitive on products, especially really important stuff like medical equipment and so on. Mm-hmm. Even despite my pivot to the somewhat hard right in the last 2 years, I still have
to be confused with the alt right.
No, I still have very
just wanted to be clear on that.
Leanings. I still have very libertarian leanings, I still believe that government protectionism leads to stagnation and waste, and I don't want that. But I want to find some kind of constructive way that we can ruggedize our home industry for building materials, for medical equipment, for technology. And I would say a good first step would be our tariffs need to mirror other countries' tariffs, especially China. That's the first thing I would do, and then go from there. But I'm very wary of government protectionism. But if we can figure out a third way to keep ourselves on a more a less globalized footing for necessary things, that would be good.
Right.
I don't have all the answers, though.
I think we had the possibility of doing that, but the problem you run into is China's prices, man.
Yeah,
that's the big killer.
It's monetary policy, though.
And if we only relocate industries out of fear of infection, then it won't last that long. In another 5 years, you'll see stuff go back across the pond.
Right.
Because the money exists to leverage whatever razor thin margin you can get by relocating. That's the nature of capital. So
I think, and that's the thing that I've been talking about with folks over the last couple of days is we are on such a razor thin pivot point from a financial standpoint. If it literally takes just the threat of a disease or something to shut down everything.
Yeah.
And people don't have the supplies stocked up. I mean, so as the front porch resident hippie, we've always had a garden. We've always liked to grow our own meat and stuff like that, and grow our own food, raise our own meat. There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, all right.
And
I was like, it's weird things happen in Nebraska. Yeah.
I can tell you that we are ramping up those pursuits now, and
of growing your own meat,
of growing our own veggies and raising our own meat, and we probably won't ever change that because of this. This has definitely changed our outlook on that.
I have heard that this is, and I can't remember who said it. There was an article about how that this is this generation's World War II. Where basically after World War II, you had everybody, life had to change and adapt to a new way of living, essentially. And not comparing it to, the horrors of World War II by any means.
Yeah,
but
right.
Just that, right now is kind of the eye-opener of, holy cow, everything needs to change just in case something happens. And how this is going to permanently change this generation coming up right now.
I know it's certainly changed my outlook, and I don't ever predict it changing. Barring some crazy unforeseen circumstance, I don't think it will change on our behalf. And I mean, we're at the point now where we're like, we can't let this happen ever again, at least to us.
Right.
And if we can grow our own stuff, we can raise our own animals. At least we can help others during the process. But we're really not in the place right now where we can help others at this point, just because of that razor thin margin. And I don't want to put the blame on the government 100% for this, but monetary policies over the last 100 years have convinced people that they do not need to be saving and they do not need to be prepping for anything.
We are not anti-fragile, as Talib would say.
No, we're a consumerist society, and if we don't have food, we have the average household has 3 days worth of food in their house. 3 days. That's not much.
Wow.
They do not have a lot of food. And that's terrifying. They are literally shopping for 3 days.
Now I remember when
they might be able to stretch that out a little bit. Don't get me wrong. But the average they plan out 3 meals in advance. That's it.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's terrifying.
Now I remember when my grandfather died, we were going through his stuff, and we started finding money everywhere. Because he was a World War II guy. They went through the Depression, the whole 9 yards of everything, and he had stashed thousands of dollars everywhere in the house, underneath stuff, in suit jackets, in random places. We dug through everything. So yeah, but there was several $1,000s worth of cash that was was found just from that mindset. And that's what I think we're kind of potentially, at least maybe smart people will potentially get into, is that you need to have a reserve of.
Thanks, Ozzy. I appreciate you.
So,
you just called me smart.
Do you have money?
Not yet. Well, I did. Ozzy, I did before the stock market crashed.
Aaron's like, no, but I have a gun and I know where the bank is. We're gonna go while Machine Gun Kelly up in here.
Oh goodness!
I had money until the stock market crashed last week.
Yeah. What does they say? If you have a gun, you can rob a bank. If you have a bank, you can rob the world.
Ooh, that
you've never heard that before?
That's almost poetic. I don't know.
It is poetic. I think that came out of 2008, which hopefully we're not living under that again.
I hope we're not going back to that. I'm gonna have to.
We'll be back.
I'm gonna have to get back to the mortgage industry if that's the case.
Oh Lord,
I make a lot of money doing foreclosure inspections. That's depressing.
That's depressing,
man. I can't believe I just said that.
That is. You're a terrible person.
My brother was cleaning out the stalls out there for Troy, working for him. And they called and want me to come around there. Well, when I get there, I realized that they're already drunk. One thing led to another, and before I knowed it, there was knives and guns. Everything just went haywire. They cut my beard and forced me to eat it.
Is this what it's like in Nebraska right now?
We don't quite have that twang.
So I can't remember if I told you guys, but I actually watched the video clip from that, and it is amazing.
Oh yeah,
it is.
It's hilarious.
It is.
It's hilarious.
Pretty sure there's a lawnmower behind him with no deck on it.
It's a pure, unmitigated Kentucky amazingness.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so
there's a reason that they call Kentucky the dark and bloody ground, but anyways. You've never heard that?
I have not. I'm not sure where to go with
Awkward
that.
silence.
It's like the etymology of I don't know if it's Cherokee. I think Cherokee etymology is it was the dark and bloody ground, but there's some debate on that. Anyways,
okay, well, so we were going for that.
We were talking about coronavirus and talking about things that are dark and bloody.
So I am still of the mindset that I think that this is mostly media blowing all of this up still, because you have the news organizations that are only talking about this. You have social media that's only talking about this. Like, we can't even find stuff for our show because all of it's coronavirus right now. It's being tracked, everything else. I don't deny that it is a big, widespread, disease or virus, whatever. I'm not denying that. But I think that it's still mostly just hype as to how actually dangerous this is and how much this is
right. So let me ask you this, just because I'm curious and I don't actually know how much media have you actually watched?
How much
you don't
media
watch
have I
that
watched?
much, do you?
Not a ton, but I'm getting this from people. Like, I have somebody that I work with whose friend is like going off the deep end because she's sitting at home right now with her kids watching TV and watching CNN and Fox and ABC and all these other things, and is quite literally like losing her mind right now because of this, and is scared out of her wits. So that stuff's going to happen.
As you guys know, and as the audience probably knows if they've been listening for any amount of time, I do not watch any cable news at all, no TV news, just zero input.
Right.
I do occasionally run into TV news reporters on Twitter, which is where I get my sense of things most of the time. So here's what I've seen on Twitter in the last 2 months, starting in late January. Late January, a lot of my part of Twitter, which is libertarian, right-wing, prepper Twitter, tech Twitter, started going absolutely nuts in late January because the Chinese were clearly lying about the spread of the disease. They were clearly lying about casualties, and yet we were getting videos of people literally dying in the streets and being stacked like cordwood in hospitals. These videos were leaked out. So that's when everybody started to freak out. I was like third week of January, fourth week of January, something like that. That's when everybody started making a run on masks. Okay?
Right.
This is before the U.S. media had even actually mentioned it, I believe. I don't think they even mentioned it in the U.S. media until like second week of February. Does that mesh with what you're thinking, Aaron?
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
It sounds all right.
Because I know we had intelligence reports before then, which we'll talk about later in the show.
Right. So, and then the first thing the media said when they started talking about it is, okay, let's not restrict travel. Let's not be racist about this. Okay. And in the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've gone from let's not be racist to President Trump didn't do enough back in the second week of February, whenever the travel ban was established.
Right.
So we've gone from full-blown ignoring it, playing it down, to full-blown panic in the media. Again, this is my sense of what people are saying because I'm getting all the secondhand. And, you know, the penny kind of dropped. The day the normies started buying TP was the day the media decided this was a really serious problem. Right?
Yes,
and that was about a week and a half ago.
That is true.
That was about a week and a half ago. So
2 weeks now. 2 weeks now.
2 weeks. So that's kind of
Monday
the timeline
of last week.
Yeah. And then when food started disappearing was when the lockdown or the gathering restrictions started coming into play. When the president made his speech, I forget exactly what he said in the speech now, but it was a week ago.
Basically the same thing.
Or a week and a half ago. Yeah. Yeah, but something changed because that's when they started talking about closing schools. Basically, when people started talking about schools started closing like 2 days or 3 days before it actually happened, that's when people started buying food like crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
So to go back to your original point, Ben, how serious is it really?
Right.
I think it's pretty serious. I think there are going to be a lot of deaths. I think there will probably be more deaths than the flu. And what's really scary about it is not that it's contagious. It's that it's asymptomatic for so long. That's really the silent killer here. It's not that it gets you really sick. It's not that it kills you. It's that you can spread the disease for like 10 or 14 days, something ridiculous, before you have any symptoms. So you are spreading it and you have no idea. With the flu, you're usually asymptomatic for like what?
4 days.
48 hours? Oh, sorry, so 70, not 72 hours, but I can't math. But 4 days. So you're asymptomatic for a much shorter window, so you can't spread it.
Yeah.
Right. So to give you an idea, when I was working at the hospital, if you had flu symptoms, you stayed home for a minimum of 48 hours. But nobody was calling people you were hanging out with before that, trying to figure out if they had it. With this, the reason they're doing contact tracing is because you can be asymptomatic for so long, which is why everybody's talking about flattening the curve. The reason we're worrying about that curve is because you can have community spread for 2 weeks and not even know you have it. And then once you do know you have it, it may not peak in any given region. It may not peak for another 3 or 4 or 6 weeks. I forget exactly what the calculation is. So why the government is freaking out is because there was a report from Imperial College, and I think, Aaron, you texted me about this week. Somebody texted me.
That report was terrifying.
That's why everybody's freaking out. And the president saw it a week and a half before we did, is my guess. That's why everybody's freaking out. But from what I've seen, and I haven't read the whole thing, I must confess, but there are some serious problems with that report that don't really add up. On the other hand, it's going to be ugly.
If it's half as bad as the report suggests,
well, we're in for saying?
Okay.
Let's go over that.
One of the weird things about the report is that they said that infections were going to peak in June, which if this thing is mitigated by weather, then that's not going to be the case. But here's the thing. We don't yet know for a fact if this thing is going to be mitigated by weather and environment. We still don't know what all the risk factors are.
I have actually an interesting thing about that. Speaking of the weather that I'm going to pull up right now, because all right, so apparently back in the 60s, 60s and before, I believe it was like 65 or something like that, that they came up with like acetaminophen and Z-Pak type antibiotics, right?
Right.
But before that, there was actually research being done about how that fresh air is actually way, way better for you whenever there are diseases like influenza specifically.
Yeah.
And one of the studies that they were doing is that they did they were putting people out in the fresh air as opposed to being inside of the tents and comparing them to one to the other. The people who were out in the fresh air were actually way less likely to either get it. So the nurses or doctors or whoever was like get it.
Yeah.
Covered faster, just because you're talking about the immense amount of air that is sweeping away any germs that are being coughed out or breathed out or whatever else.
Right. I mean, there's a reason that people talk about the hospitals where you go to get sick and die. I mean, there's a lot of amazing things they can do for you only in a hospital, but it does not come without risk. It's not a free ride.
I'm curious as to, because like you were saying, with the summer coming, for instance, here it was 75 degrees yesterday. We had all the windows open. So if the summer comes, how is this going to be affected because of people just being outside more as opposed to the wintertime, I guess early spring, when it's still chilly, people still have their heat on in their houses. You know, like here it's going to be 50s, which isn't quite warm enough for us to open the windows every single day. But I'm curious how that's going to affect things, because that was a really cool study.
I think part of the governmental freakout. Part of the governmental freakout is there are still a lot of unknowns. You can make a best guess, like you can make a best guess that warm air and sunshine mitigates this, but nobody really knows. So really, you have to judge if you're the president or the vice president or the CDC or whoever's come to this party incredibly late, but yet still makes all the decisions. Is the risk of shutting down the economy for 2, 4, 6 weeks? Is it worth taking the risk against community spread and then, infections and deaths?
The other thing is how many people actually have it, because that's the one factor that could mean that this is a very minimum thing.
That is an excellent question.
Is because if 80% of the country right now has it, and we're only looking at however many thousands of deaths, this could be very comparable to the flu in the end.
But it's not 80%.
You can already see that it's not, though. I think.
But how do you know that?
So the number of people they've tested, only like 3% are coming back with positives.
Right. But how many people are being tested? The problem is
you should still see the ratio.
You still see the ratio. I mean, when you're doing a ratio like that, when you're testing 1,000 people and only 3% are coming back positive.
Ben, to your point, you've put your finger on something very, very important, which is why did we not start testing back in February, or why weren't we gearing up to test? It's like when this blew up in late February, everybody who should have known better seems to have been caught completely flat-footed. And we weren't prepared. We should have been prepared to test like South Korea was. South Korea ramped up to test tens of thousands of people within, like, what was it, 5 or 6 days? They were testing thousands and thousands of people, and we're still not doing it a month into this. It's crazy. That's what really ticks me off. So we can't. Not only is our government late to the game in disseminating and collecting information, they're also their mitigation is being hampered by the fact that they don't know what the spread is like on the ground. If we had more information on the spread, we could better take a guess and say we would rather have everybody stay home and lose their jobs potentially to prevent a million deaths. But we can't guess that. So right now everybody's guessing, and that's actually part of the reason this is dividing the country, is because nobody really knows. And some people are really, really pissed at Karen on Facebook. Not our Karen, but different Karens.
Different Karen.
Some people are
basically same Karen.
I'm sure somebody's mad at Jeff.
Same Karen.
But some people are really, really upset because their acquaintance on Facebook is saying this is terrible. We must do whatever it takes, and they're like, I work in the restaurant industry, and I'm putting my kids through in private school or whatever, or feeding my kids or getting them health insurance, and I can't. I'm completely out of work. And it may never come back because the business I work for has to pay liquor license in 2 weeks, and they don't have enough money to pay the liquor license and put me back to work if this ever comes back. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So people are making, and I think this is still bubbling up. I don't know if the mainstream media is covering this or not, but we're going to see this bubble up, these second and third order effects for weeks and months and maybe years to come. That's what I'm
suggesting.
about.
2 million unemployment next week.
That's nuts.
That's crazy. So I was able to pull up this tweet string. This was from Jeremy C. Young, who he summarizes the Imperial College report.
Okay, I think I may have seen this actually.
So I sent this to you guys. So I'm just going to sum it up real quick. And so
I didn't read it.
Okay. according to their
thanks Jeff.
According to their modeling, what happens if the U.S. does absolutely nothing? So this is maintain status quo. If we go about our business and we let the virus take its course, here's what will happen. According to the models, which models are known to be wrong sometimes, so that's fine. This is worst case scenario. 80% of the Americans would get the disease. 0.9% would die. Between 4 and 8% of all Americans over the age of 70 would die. It would account for 2.2 million deaths just from the virus itself. But here's the kicker. Here's the issue. The issue is that the people with severe COVID-19 will need to be put on ventilators. 50% of those on ventilators still die.
Right.
That's the issue, is afterwards.
Right.
So this isn't included in the death rate from the 2.2 million death rate.
Right.
This is 50% additional. The other 50% will live. But the unmitigated epidemic, and I'm quoting here Jeremy C. Young, the need for ventilators would be 30 times the number available in the U.S. Nearly 100% of these patients die.
Right.
So the actual death toll from the virus, if we do nothing, is 4 million Americans in the span of 3 months. 8 to 15% of Americans over 70 would die.
So do we know how many deaths we're at right now? Is it like 400 something?
As of right now in the U.S., our death rate is... see, I've got it split up by states here.
It looks like about 20,000. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, wow, no.
I'm sorry.
No.
20,000 people have it. It's roughly 260, maybe 300 deaths.
Yeah, 275 deaths I've got on one device.
I keep thinking to myself, okay, at what point will we have enough data to actually say how bad this is going to be? And it may be a while before we actually have an idea. But again, that's part of the reason is because we're not doing testing, and that's on the CDC, honestly, and the FDA. Because the FDA prevented people from testing for weeks. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
No.
Private labs wanted to test, and the FDA, because of regulation, prohibited them from testing.
Right. I knew that.
So that's
right. I knew that. Yeah,
so yeah. I posted something on Twitter yesterday, and I said libertarians have been asking. It's not just libertarians, but conservatives have been asking for a long time, because I'm not a libertarian anymore. Lost my heart. But conservatives and libertarians have been asking for a while. You know, Aaron, I said that tongue in cheek.
I hear you. I still have
libertarian notions. Just
keep
being
going.
silly.
I'm good.
Because Aaron's like, you're a traitor to the cause.
I don't care anymore with you, Tombstone. You vacillate. You vacillate.
Love you.
You're fine.
Love you, mean it.
Thank you, Debbie.
But can we all agree that we're living in really strange times?
Yeah,
we can all agree on that, and that we're having to kind of think about things differently.
I mean, we thought 2019 was bad, and 2020 is like hold my beer. I mean,
hold my beer. So what I was going to say, the question is, conservatives have asked this for a long time, libertarians have asked this for a long time, is in a do or die massive logistical problem like getting masks, getting ventilators, getting tests disseminated and tested, can our massive regulatory apparatus get out of its own way to make things happen and save lives? And so far, the answer is no. Would you agree?
I think so. I'm watching Ozzy run outside.
He just went outside.
I think they are locking down his state. He is out there. He's got black helicopters. He's got black helicopters over his house.
He's closing the door. He's closing the door.
Slowly. Oh, man. This is weird. Ozzy, are the black helicopters over your house?
No, seriously. That's like the third helicopter that's flown over my house in like 5 minutes.
National Guard is out and about.
Dude,
no, it's actually the Coast Guard. They're orange.
Time to queue up Copperhead Road.
We do have we have the Coast Guard. The base that they train all of the Coast Guard for the United States is 8 miles south of me. So
gotcha.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
they're setting up normally so people can't sail away from your
normally
island.
You don't see you don't see that many helicopters all at once though, so that's a little leery unless something goes wrong.
Hashtag martial law.
Oh no.
It's not that bad, I don't think yet.
So yeah, I think I agree with your analysis, Tombstone. It's going to take us a while to see these numbers. I mentioned to the guys last week the numbers we really need to be looking at are the closed cases. That's the recovered rate as opposed to the death rate. And as of right now, the death rate's 11%.
Yeah.
As opposed to the recovered rate.
But that's only for known. That's only for known cases.
That's only for known cases, exactly.
Right.
So I don't know what the formula is to extract known. I don't know what the formula is to extrapolate known cases from unknown cases, untested cases.
Well, that's what I'm saying is
because there are a lot of
biggest
people not
issue
being
I
tested
have.
Right now. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That goes back to the testing.
And even if you are getting tested, a lot of the doctors right now, from my knowledge of people that I know who work in the industry of medical, because that didn't flow at all. Yeah. Medical. Even the people that are coming in, unless you are a severe case, they are not going to test you. What your doctor is going,
like if you're elderly.
What your doctor is going to tell you to do is, okay, here are the symptoms that I have. You're going to say, here's the symptoms that I have, and your doctor's going to say, okay, you need to self-quarantine for 2 weeks.
Right. Which is fine. That's a smart thing to do.
Right,
if
I'm not
you
saying,
don't have a test kit.
But again,
but it doesn't help us make decisions about whether or not we should all stay home for 2 weeks.
Right. That doesn't help because it's okay if you're healthy, if you're, under the age of blah, 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 you're probably going to be fine. And so you're at home you've gotten a little bit sick or, flu symptoms, whatever, minor symptoms, and you've gotten well, and then you go back. And then it's like, okay, that's something it's never reported.
Yep.
So that's what I'm curious about is
so
it's hard to say
to your point, Ozzy,
it is or isn't.
To your point, Ozzy, Italy has 47,000 cases.
Right.
To your point, 47,000 cases. It's interesting because they have 60 million people in the country. They're not going to be able to test all 60 million.
Right.
They're never going to be able to do that. And so, yeah, I suppose after the fact they could check antibodies and see. I mean, we can make good guesstimates, I guess, by testing like 1,000 people and just evaluating that population. But still,
yeah. Is any random testing taking place right now?
No, as far as I know.
No, I actually did read today about in Telluride, Colorado, San Martin County or something like that. There's a bunch of rich, wealthy people that live there, and there's a couple that owns a biomedical company, and they're going to test everyone in the county for free twice,
really,
just to get a before and after sample. Yeah,
that's kind of cool. That
is kind of cool. And
so
that's the type
maybe
of
we'll
thing
see
that
more
we need.
of that going forward.
Now,
right?
Do you think that the media, whether it be social media or maybe just actual media on the TV and stuff like that, TV, radio, are doing a disservice by helping spread this panic? That's my other question. I understand freedom of speech, but to what extent do you hold these people accountable for saying stupid things?
Honestly, the government has to make the decisions. If the government's being over-influenced by the media, then we get the government we deserve.
Wow.
Because the buck doesn't stop with the media. I mean, not that they don't have some responsibility, but
But do you think that the pressure
it's kind of a weird road to go down?
Do you think the pressure from the everyday citizens on the government caused by the media is in effect? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is, and I don't really have a good way of gauging that, honestly.
Right, but how do you gauge it?
There's a large amount of CYA in play right now from the government for sure.
There's a lot of hyperbole out there right now, and that's for sure. I know that for a fact. But man, guys, I come back to if this is a pandemic and it is as serious as it seems to possibly be, especially looking at Italy, then what we're doing is barely enough.
So let's go back and talk about
let's
go back and talk about exacerbating factors for Italy. Italy, they've been worst hit in the Po River Valley in northern Italy, where they have a huge amount of trade from China back and forth.
I was going to say it's a large immigrant population up there as well, and from China making Italian-made Gucci.
Yeah, and from what I understand, there's a whole different conversation there. And from what I understand, air quality is not that great because it's a mountain valley area and there's lots of manufacturing. And their population is extremely elderly. It's like 20% of the population is over 60 or 70. It's something ridiculous like that.
Right.
Do we have a breakdown from within Italy of the... No, we don't.
I'm sure it exists, but I don't have it.
I can't read Italian.
Well, what in the world, man? That is a failure on your part.
I was hoping to show allegiance. I know. I have failed. I have failed you. I have failed the audience. Yeah, because I'd be curious to see, we know it's higher there, but why would they lock down the entire country if it wasn't an issue? Countries don't just lock themselves down.
Because there's elderly people all over the country. They're worried about their elderly people getting killed off by this.
The other thing is you have to consider Italy, in and of itself, Italy is a large country, but comparative to our country, it's not big. It's pretty comparative to, like 4 or 5 states worth
I can drive across the entire northern part of the country in 5 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I mean, so I think I made it from
other thing is
Bolzano to Venice in 2.5 hours.
Yeah, so we need to evaluate exactly how large we're talking about.
But it's 60 million people. That's a lot of people in a little area.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, it's very populated, and when you get into the cities, it's incredibly populated, and it's not
especially
we're not talking sky rises. We're talking,
and I think that's going to be a big factor in, if you look at New York. New York City
itself
is blowing out of the water right now with people and cases and everything else. But it's because you're going to get hard hit in these cities. And with Europe, you're talking about small countries that have super populations in small areas.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
That's what I think a big factor of that is, and what we're seeing in Italy is that you're talking about how, these populations, they aren't as spread out per se as, having a large country like we do. I mean, I think that's a big factor too, is that you have small or large populations in small areas.
As I've been saying for the last 5 weeks, I do not think the health issues are going to be our major issues.
Right.
The health issues are going to be coming from the socioeconomic impact, which is we have a bunch of people who just love going to the hospital.
Yep,
true.
They love going to the hospital. You have a sniffle or you have a tummy ache, you got to go to the hospital. And it's like, no, that is why our stupid medical system is so overrun here.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe I'm crazy.
Well, I mean, we didn't want to say it out loud.
I don't think so. And part of that is because of the way our, regulation on, obviously you can't refuse care, but there's also not great alternatives for people that think they need care. So
we are seeing a lot of clinics pop up, which is good.
Yes.
But these clinics are not equipped to handle the potential of the virus. And the hospitals aren't either. I was talking with someone in the industry who was saying that they are losing, their supplies are dwindling right now.
Oh yeah,
because they cannot get masks, they cannot get respirators.
And I think I have to say I think that's going to be changing pretty soon. Just from my observation of what's happening with all of that is I think right now you're going to see a boom in hospital needs because they are directing. Like 3M right now. 3M is not making masks for, Home Depot and Lowe's and all of these other places. They're making masks for hospitals.
Right.
And
I'm hearing, though, a lot of that stuff came from China, and there's no more coming for months. I've read that as well. But I know we do have some U.S. manufacturing. I just don't know how much we have.
Right. It's possible. But I'm curious to see as how this is going to turn into the, Ford Motor Company making bombers during World War II because it's a necessity.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm curious to see.
Well, you see all the distilleries are starting to make hand sanitizer.
That's pretty cool. What are you going to start drinking, Aaron?
Yeah.
This is the hand sanitizer, the best hand sanitizer. It's from 2020. You're going to tell your kids this in 2040.
It's weird. All the hand sanitizer smells like bourbon.
Aaron's telling Alyssa, stocking up on hand sanitizer. comes at a liquor store.
Yeah, just don't confuse those bottles.
Good grief, you people.
Must have been a bad batch around here because Floyd counties went crazy in the last 4 days. When I finally got down here to the house to look see what happened, the door was standing wide open. It looked like he was packing up for a yard sale when he come out. He was lying, throwing his hands, saying stuff like, I didn't do it, you know how rogues do, and blaming on everybody else. He did pull a gun on me when I got back around the house because I guess he thought I was upset with him. Who steals a cheese grater? He's got the words, Lysol. He stole an empty bottle of spray. What got me the most was my soap. He stole my soap. Who steals soap?
This is like a police report from last week now. He stole my soap.
He stole my toilet paper. Well,
okay, so did we ever figure out why it was toilet paper that was the first victim of this crisis?
I have figured it out because the stuff hit the fan. So you need toilet paper.
That's a good point.
Ben, you're fired.
I got nothing, man. I have no idea.
My theory.
Maybe they're trying to wipe out the virus.
Shut it down. Just shut it down now. We're done. It's over.
My theory is toilet paper is a luxury item. And so secondary only to food, people want toilet paper.
In other words, you're saying it's number 2?
Yes. Who is? Yes, that's right. Dad jokes.
Why did we allow him to come here and do this, Aaron?
Because he actually shows up.
Yep.
Oh, it's true.
It's true.
So moving on. That was horrible. I love you, Tim Son.
Guilty as charged.
I love
Guilty
you,
as charged.
I mean, just because last week you were spending a day on the beach. I mean, come on. Which I heard Hartwell's closed now. So
no, I was on the Chattooga last week.
Oh, close enough. But
Hartwell's not closed. That was fake news.
Oh, was it?
That was a hoax. You got to actually go click on it. It's actually hilarious.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
You can't close the lake. It's got like 8,000 miles of shoreline.
Well, they could try.
You can close the lake.
They can close it.
If the government closes, you're done.
Yeah, man.
Is this like when they closed the World War II memorial back in 2010 or whenever it was, 2011?
That was ridiculous.
That was funny.
Bring it.
It's a great way. Piss off veterans. That's a good idea.
Dude, oh my goodness.
It's a great idea.
It's a good way
I know someone that was there. He personally moved the barricades out of the way so that the honor flight guys could go see the memorial. It was pretty awesome.
That was such a show of never mind.
Yeah. Guys, I'm telling you, the bureaucracy does not love us.
No.
They love money. They love money.
Well,
it's terrible.
That's obvious when you look at the Senate and you see that 4 of them now were doing apparently insider trading.
Well,
after coronavirus,
it's okay because America has enough toilet paper now to wipe them out.
Okay, that one wasn't funny.
Just mute him. That wasn't funny. You have the power to mute him.
So this week, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that coronavirus is out there.
And the stock market.
I love how you say that like we just started the show and haven't talked about that for the past hour and a half.
Well, you know.
This whole time, if you've been wondering what we're talking about, here's the explanation.
Which, by the way, I want to interject here real quick. I've talked to people. Some people say the show is too long. Some people say the show is too short.
I know. There's no happy meat. That's why we haven't changed it.
But if you're one of the people who thinks it's too long, folks, we actually do not necessarily intend you to listen to the whole thing in one sit.
No, just listen to a segment.
Take a bite of it and listen to part of it on your commute and then turn it back on the next day. It's part of the reason we do it the way we do.
That's how I would listen to it.
So that you can put it down and come back to it. Yeah, because Ben can't take
that's
too much
why
of
we
it
have
at
the
one
segment
time.
breaks. That's why we have the segment breaks.
Yeah.
It was.
I understand I'm on weekly and that I'm a lot to take in. So
my lovely wife is one of the people that apparently thinks it's too long, but that thinks she's biased.
Just, sometimes awesomeness can only be consumed in little chunks. Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. So, guys, Washington, D.C., all these stupid ads. No.
What?
Ads. Okay.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the article here. Okay, so
I don't know. He's ruining it.
Back to what we were talking about the senators here. Richard Burr, head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, was directly briefed on coronavirus. He sold $1.7 million in stock between January and February.
Yowza.
Dianne Feinstein, same committee. Now, remember, early February, we did not know that this was going to be potentially a big deal. And the stock market was still going up at that point. Dianne Feinstein, on the same committee, sold $6 million in stock. Kelly Loeffler of the Senate Health Committee, who also was briefed by the CDC.
Republican, right?
Yes, she is. Sold $3.1 million in stock when on the same day her committee was briefed by the CDC. And then James Inhofe sold $400,000 in stocks, including real estate, all on January 27th. Again, before anyone knew that this was going to end up the way that it's going to end up. Yeah.
Doesn't sound shady at all.
No, not at all. I believe it was Burr. He asked the ethics committee to look into this, which, of course,
something.
I guess it's like, how do you prove it either way? Like, how do you prove it either way that he dumped it because of that? Now, the irony is that most of these people were dumping travel, airlines, and cruise lines and hospitality industries.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair,
either.
the cruise stuff was taking a hit really early on because of the cruise ship that was docked in Japan for like 2 weeks.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
But still, it's very, very shady.
Yeah.
And Burr claims that he filed his financial disclosure form several weeks before the markets showed volatility. It doesn't matter. It was after you found out the inside information in a confidential briefing. Same for you, Feinstein. Get out of Washington. We're done with you. I want all four of these people fired. I want them censured I want them impeached. I want them gone.
I don't know if you can impeach Congress people.
You impeach those people?
Can you? I don't know.
It's called having an election.
I want them gone. They are terrible people. They need to be arrested. They need to be arrested. There you go. They need to be arrested. Insider trading. Any one of us can get nailed for that, but they apparently can't. If you get information that is not public, you cannot base your market purchases or sales based upon that. It needs to be just like the presidency. They need to have a blind trust. They shouldn't be able to touch their finances when they're in Washington. I'm done with them. I'm absolutely done with them. Because they go to Washington and they sit there and they sculpt all the laws and legislation in order for them to make money. There is no way you should be able to go to Washington and make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Feinstein, I'm looking at you.
It happens all the time.
It happens every time. I'm absolutely honestly, sick of it.
The Republican Party needs to hold itself to a higher standard, although I don't really have any hopes of that happening since people like McConnell and Boehner are also beneficiaries of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Money,
absolutely.
buddy.
It's all about the money. Follow the money. Follow the money. Why do you go to Washington? Because you want to get rich. You may not become the wealthiest person in the country, but you will certainly become very wealthy. Every single one of these people in Washington do that. Every single one of them. Have you seen their houses? Like, on standard, you don't have any normal people living in normal houses in Washington, D.C. I mean, look at Ocasio-Cortez.
And part of that
she moved up to a penthouse in Washington, D.C.
Part of that is that D.C. is the imperial city, and we tolerate the fact that it creates a culture of power worship and money worship.
I'm sick of it. I'm done. I'm just absolutely sick of it. I hope the government crumbles because of this, and I hope it's over.
Wow. All right.
That may be slightly hyperbolic. Okay,
that was a little bit.
Okay, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Look, I mentioned to you guys.
Tell us how you really feel.
I think it's absolutely ironic that of all the threats we talk about every single day in our country, we talk about the threat from China. We talk about the threat from Russia. We talk about the threat from socialism. We talk about the threat from communism. It's a pandemic that brought us to our knees. It's ironic. It's something you can't see. It's something you can't really touch. the irony. I see so much irony in this that I don't know. It's very, I don't know.
I think something I've thought about is related to what you're talking about, Aaron. This is I want to say it's a foreseeable event, but the weird thing about fat tail probability events is that they were always probable. They were just difficult to forecast, if that makes sense.
I agree with you.
I think this is definitely one of these situations. I mean, we've already seen strange pathogens come out of China before.
Right.
One could argue it was only a matter of time. My biggest regret in this is that the government has not been doing its job. Okay. We pay taxes, and I'm not against paying taxes, but the part of the social contract is I'm locked into paying taxes for my entire life as long as I'm making money. The other half of that social contract is you have to provide the services that I'm paying for. Otherwise, what's the point of having a government? And if the government is not capable of preparing for these kind of situations, then maybe we need to think about replacing our government.
Well, that I think is where my frustration is right now. And that was part of the reason why I did a few years ago took a hard lean libertarian. From a business standpoint, I was absolutely getting screwed every single year.
Mm-hmm.
And my taxes were going to prop up the biggest corporations, and I own a corporation, so I'm not anti-corporation. Don't read that. Don't read that into this. But my money from my corporation, all my tax money was going to provide bailouts for big corporations.
Yep.
And so I made a hard swing libertarian, and taxation is theft, man. I believe in the basic tenets of government. I believe very limited government, providing for the military, providing for firehouses. I'm okay with that. Providing for, yes, the roads. I know now I'm not a real libertarian anymore. But like just the minimal stuff. And protecting us from pandemics. That right there. Man.
I mean, that's part of providing for the common defense, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
And that includes, if need be, locking down the borders.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is like getting ready for this stuff is part of the legitimate, even if you have a very, very small government conceptualization, then this is part of the legitimate task of government.
Yes.
Managing, helping to manage the worst case scenario for a population of people.
Now, granted, it's a drop in the bucket, but we're sitting there spending $200 billion a year on foreign governments. We're cutting checks to foreign governments.
Yep.
And I did a breakdown the other day in a text to another friend of mine, and I think it was the social programs in our country are up over $500 billion.
Woo!
$500 billion, 500 billion, or something like that. It might even be over that. I don't know, but it's like corporate subsidies were up well over 200 billion. And
yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Did you know that our oh wow, my voice cracked there. Did you know that our military spends more than every other nation combined as far as military spending?
I did know that.
That's ridiculous. And I understand superiority, but that is a lot of money, guys.
It is.
And we obviously weren't ready for this. I mean, look, the White House was denying this was even an issue until a week and a half ago.
Yep.
Even if it's not as big of an issue as the media is saying, we know it's at least a small issue. We know it's at least an issue. But the president sat there and denied it and claimed that it wasn't anything. It was fine. We have it under control. Then all of a sudden his tone starts changing. And so it was hilarious. I saw a meme the other day. Hannity back in late February was like, "Oh, this is an absolute hoax. Plotting to take over it's a coup. It's a coup against the president."
I have no use for Hannity whatsoever.
And then Hannity, literally a week ago, 3-4 days, whatever, he goes, "Oh, we've never suggested this was a hoax ever on this show. We would never say that." And I'm like, Hannity,
Talk radio I cannot stand.
It's like the guy's an idiot.
It irks me to no end.
His nose is completely orange. Anyways, moving on. Moving on. No, I realize it's not nice to talk about, other talk shows or anything, but you know what, Hannity? No, just stop. Go home.
I think it's time for Hannity to retire. He's got enough money.
Good grief, yeah, he does.
He is not a positive contribution to the national discourse. Unlike our fine, intellectually centered entertainment here on this show.
No, that's correct. That is correct. All right, so senators,
absolutely,
guys. When it comes time to bug out, what are you going to use?
I have a 2000 Mitsubishi Montero Sport.
You got a minivan. I have the Odyssey, baby.
I have a 2006.
It's a swagger wagon.
I have a 2006.
We're going to be going 1.25 miles down the road to the grandparents' house.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's because you're on a peninsula and you can't get out without going out past Philly. You're completely screwed.
Yeah, basically.
Ozzy is in trouble. He's got the Atlantic Ocean on one side, and
we're going to cross the Delaware with our minivan.
Ozzy's going to load up the Delaware in a Kodiak, and
yep.
They're gonna reenact the Washington the crossing the Delaware photo.
Yeah, I will say, have you ever looked up like exactly
photo?
Where
you guys
approximately
missed that?
where they?
You guys missed that?
I'm just ignoring you.
I said you guys are going to recreate the crossing the Delaware photo.
Hilarious.
You guys should have ran me over for that.
We should have, but we didn't hear any ringing comments about a wall.
It's true.
Have you ever looked up exactly where they cross the Delaware?
No,
it's
idea.
kind of disappointingly small.
Is it?
I'm just saying.
Dang it.
It really is.
I'm going to look this up now.
I'm not saying it's not like a significant body of water, but it's not like, it's not miles worth of Delaware they were crossing.
I mean, when you look at the picture, hang on, I'm going to look at the picture.
When you look
first,
at the picture, it looks massive.
Oh man,
it really
that's actually depressing.
It really is.
That's yeah, wow.
Because some of the bridges from New Jersey to Philadelphia, some of the bridges are pretty massive, and that they span quite a gap. But it's not.
That's yeah, wow.
Okay, so you can't really see the shoreline in the painting. It's just like it's not even there.
Right.
No,
right.
And it's funny because the painting is obviously from the north instead of the south.
And it makes you assume that it took them hours upon hours upon hours for one boat to get across.
What's south of what's south looking down the river? Can you see the shoreline looking south? Like, is it? It doesn't like open up wide.
No. It does a kind of a switchback.
Yeah.
So
and goes to Philly.
Okay. It is,
so
isn't it, though?
Question here for you: did they actually go across in boats, or was it like a ferry? Was it like a pulled ferry?
I don't know, actually. All I know is I supposedly I've heard boats, but I'm going off of like the painting that I know.
Well, I'm seeing one painting, and it's definitely a ferry. It's definitely like a rope ferry.
It might be.
And then,
I mean, this also doesn't negate the fact that
these guys
on Christmas Eve decided to cross the river and surprise a bunch of British troops, which must have been horrifying. I'm just saying. To without wake up to that,
without a doubt,
like, that is American ingenuity right there. They're like, screw your law or whatever they are. Terms of war, whatever that's called.
Looking at what the casualties.
According to the reenactment photos, they were using the boats like in the iconic Washington crossing the Delaware 1851 painting.
By the way, it wasn't British; it was Hessians that were the casualties.
Oh, that's correct. You're right.
So the casualties were actually not
Once
that
again, we kicked the Germans' butts.
They must have just surprised the absolute heck out of those guys.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
the two people died during the march because it was so cold.
Right. But this is
22 Hessians were killed, and then about half of them got away entirely. But they captured about 800 or 900 of them.
Right.
So a few hundred more got away.
Yep.
But still, had to surprise the heck out of them, especially back then. Everybody pretty much shut down during Christmas.
Right.
I'm still kind of bummed.
Christmas Day, that is.
Still kind of bummed to this whole thing. So. I thought it was going to be much further.
Right? I always had it in my mind that they crossed like a mile's worth of river.
Like I was thinking,
you know,
they were crossing. I thought
like
they were crossing like the Chesapeake Bay. I'll be honest with you. Like, obviously it was crossing Delaware, but I was envisioning like this Chesapeake Bay type thing, like big, expansive water. No.
That's what I always thought. I always thought, oh, you know what? They're crossing like a mile of river or something like that. And
so
it's
did they cross?
Oh, it's really.
Did they cross at New Hope? Ben, is that where they crossed?
Let's see here. All right, they crossed. Well, they had a parking lot that they crossed into right there. I mean, I don't know why they didn't just take the bridge. It is in, looks like Bucks County. Hold on, I'm pulling all the stuff up here.
Awkward silence.
I know, right? It looks like a little bit south of New Hope.
Okay.
So
yeah, the river there is looks like it's about 500 to 600 feet tops.
Yeah.
So
that's even more depressing. I was thinking it was like 1,000 yards.
I'm sorry.
That's even worse.
Like, it would not have looked anything like the painting. The painting looks like he's crossing the Albemarle Sound in North Carolina, like open ocean.
Yeah, right, exactly.
This is like what was it in Grand Tour where they crossed the South China Sea or whatever? That's what it looks like.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, it's just choppy water. Everything is death and destruction if you're in like anything less than a freighter, you know. It's just,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, no, I got nothing.
I've ruined history now.
During the next Revolutionary War, we'll do it right. We'll do a one-up on old George.
So I'm looking at this photo here. It is no more than 200 yards across.
Yeah,
I mean
that's rifle range.
There's a guy standing out in the middle of the river. There's a bridge. There's a bridge right. There's literally a bridge right next to it.
He's one of the two people that died. This is the guys that had to stand in the river.
I mean, this is
that painting is pure propaganda, no doubt,
without a doubt.
Absolutely,
now we know.
It absolutely is. And I hate that. Like, I wish that I could go back and
Ozzy.
I Googled this when I moved here, and I was sorely disappointed because I was like, "Oh, we could go visit this," and then I was like, "Nope."
You do realize, Ozzy, you just ruined it for everyone. You ruined this. Like, you completely ruined this for everyone.
I'm so sorry. It still doesn't negate the fact that they did it on Christmas Eve and scared the living daylights out of a bunch of Germans.
Here's the thing, though. It probably was really icy and cold. It's still dangerous.
Maybe.
Right.
Unless it was actually, like 55 degrees outside.
It might have been. Again, propaganda.
Wouldn't it have been ironic to find out they're gonna find like the remains of like some old bridge out there and figure out that it was a bridge and that it wasn't actually a
they crossed a bridge. It ruined everything.
Like the 3 people it's like the 10 people crossed in a boat to get rid of the guys on the bridge on the other side to surprise them so that the rest could walk across.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, it would have been much easier had he had the LTI Earth Roamer. Right?
Ooh,
right?
What, pray tell, is that?
The LTI Earth Roamer, the bug-out vehicle that we started the segment talking about. The all-new Earth Roamer. So, as we've been researching how to bug out, which none of us are bugging out because, well, Ozzy's trapped on a peninsula. Tombstone has too many kids.
Yeah.
And
four young kids, yeah.
have a farm, so...
Well, that's me. Sorry, not Tombstone.
So that's you, not Tombstone. So we...
Yeah.
I've been curious about these bug out vehicles, and in fact, I saw one very much like this one that we looked up. That was a homemade one that I saw. I did.
Because they didn't live far enough away from everybody?
These guys had an Idaho license plate on it, and they built theirs by themselves. They built theirs. It was a home built. So it was pretty impressive structure.
Interesting.
But so this is a carbon fiber vacuum infused camper body, lithium ion batteries, bunk side windows, raised ceiling height, all on a Ford F550 chassis.
This thing is awesome.
Yes.
Until you look at the price.
I don't want to look at the price. Don't tell me about this.
Okay.
No. Don't tell me about this.
I went on their website, okay? While we were doing all this, I went on their website, all right? I am up to $650,000 right now.
Yeah, but it's handcrafted in Colorado.
So is a Bentley. Come on.
It's not made in Colorado. You don't know what else you're getting for that $650,000. Do you know
what you can buy for this? You could buy like three. You could buy like 3 full-size motorhomes.
Yeah, used
for like that much money.
Used.
Or you could buy like one really, really, really good motorhome.
It's true, but you don't have 4-wheel drive in that sucker. Do you?
You know what? If you can afford, I'm just saying, if you can afford to buy this,
okay,
you can afford to not have to bug out because you have an entire civilization living underneath your house.
It's true. So we in Australia. So speaking of off-road vehicles, in Australia, when I visited there, we went on Bronco's beach buggy. Bronco was about 65 years old. He was short.
The guy's name was Bronco?
He was short. Awesome. Very red individual with like blondish white spiky hair. And he must have been like 5'6". Funny, hilarious guy. Overweight. You know, it was the quintessential retired Australian, but driving Bronco's beach buggy. He was a former Chippendale. If you don't know what that is, you're talking.
Don't Google it.
Don't look it up. But we're talking. They were fully clothed.
It was a certain sort of entertainment for him.
Yeah, exactly. Sporting only a Speedo and a bow tie. But yeah, so Bronco was one of the. Anyways, his beach buggy was a 4-wheel drive bus. It was impressive. Oh yes,
that's awesome.
So, I don't know if I can find the pictures online.
They have these in Michigan too.
Do they? Why? Are there beaches in Michigan?
They do. There are dunes in Michigan. Actually,
really?
like heavy duty, yeah, like really large sand dunes. Because you can do dune buggies on sand dunes, and they're like these bus size, maybe shorter, maybe like short bus size vehicles that they ride up and down the sand dunes. Because we're going to be doing that for our family reunion come, I don't know, next year, 2 years, something like that.
If you're allowed to go.
Yeah, seriously. If I only knew somebody in Michigan.
Wow. See, now I'm trying to find. Now I'm trying to find the. I can't find them. I can't find the beach tours on Rainbow Beach in Australia. But anyways, it was fascinating.
That's so
4-wheel drive buses. If you get a bus, it needs to be that one. It needs to be a 4-wheel drive bus with the big tires on it. And then you can kit that sucker out. But still, I think you can do that for under $120,000.
Probably a lot less.
Well, that's what I'm saying. 4-wheel drive buses are expensive.
And then you can just park it on someone's land and stay there indefinitely and smoke weed.
It's like you're talking about someone.
How is this? I want to just out of curiosity. How have weed sales been in Colorado since this thing happened?
I assume they've been great.
I bet you they've gone through the roof.
So every single post our governor makes,
everybody off track.
Every single post our governor in the state of Nebraska makes now is we have to legalize weed post. Because everyone is posting underneath it, now is the time to legalize weed because we need it to de-stress. And I'm like, really, guys?
Oh, my goodness.
Really?
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. Yeah.
So, okay. Speaking of ways to de-stress, have you heard about like the Hollywood companies that are releasing their theatrical releases early to digital and DVD? For instance, Disney is coming out with their newest Pixar movie is coming out on DVD, and then it's coming to Disney Plus in
Prime,
2 weeks, I think.
And Prime. I was like, what in the world?
Do you think this is going to be how things are going to work?
So I've been wondering this. I've been wondering all of this because I'm wondering how much the future is going to change because of this. Like, everyone's going online for everything now, including meetings, including all of a sudden we're finding out how many emails could have been sent instead of having a meeting. It's great. It is perfect. Because all of a sudden people are social distancing and don't want you in their office. I'm very happy with all of this. But I'm wondering how it is going to affect the future. Are we going to see less movies in theaters? I mean, most theaters are going to the what do they call them? The comfy seats instead of the theater seats now. I mean, we've seen that change in the last 5 years. What other changes are we going to potentially see? Are we going to see more movie theaters going straight to streaming? I don't know. Or more movie companies go straight to streaming? It's a good question. What about work, though?
That'll be interesting to find out.
Like, are office workers going to end up back in the office?
I think it really depends on if productivity takes a hit. I say that. I don't really think this is a logical thing. I think it's an emotional thing on the part of management.
So here's the question, I guess. You're seeing companies over in Europe going to 4-day work weeks or 6-hour work days.
Yep.
Productivity seems to actually be going up over those.
I really think this depends on the business you're in. I have definitely worked in places where you could get by with a 4-day work week, but like where I work now, no, there's no way.
I understand that. Yeah,
it really does depend. I don't think there's any reason not to go to a 4-day work week unless you can't. Otherwise, you're just punishing your employees.
So do you think, based on that, do you think that if we do adjust to a 4-day work week or a work from home situation or whatever, do you think the folks who are doing the 5-day work weeks will end up getting paid more?
If 4-day becomes the norm, I would say so.
I'm just curious about it. Like, I am fascinated by how this is going to sculpt our culture from here on out. As I said, it's a socioeconomic impact.
I think Americans are really afraid of a 4-day work week, though.
Well, after all, we've heard from the propaganda from the left saying that thank the unions for a 5-day work week and 40 hours a week.
Yeah,
it's like if they go any less than that, then the unions haven't done their job,
right?
Unless the unions push for a 4-day work week, which they're not. Because they know it's unsustainable for them. Yeah. For them, it's unsustainable.
Right. I don't know.
Which, by the way, it wasn't the unions. It was Arthur Guinness of Guinness Beer. Just wanted to throw that out. He was the 5-day work week. Continue.
I don't know. I think remote work in general has a I think it has impacts on work that are still being figured out. Especially in things that you have to, do a lot of training, on the job training, that sort of thing. It's really hard to train for what I do. It's kind of hard to train people unless they already know exactly what they're doing. So I don't know.
There's no doubt that the certain service industries cannot go home base. I can't go home base.
Some stuff is never going to work.
Yeah.
As of right now, I cannot go home base. I'm on the road 5 days a week. As it is, or should be, not the last 3 weeks because of this stupid virus. But it's just not going to happen. Same with retail, same with restaurants. It's not going to happen. It obviously can't go from home. But office work, I don't see why it couldn't. I mean, okay, so here's another question for you guys. Homeschooling. Do you think we're going to see a boost in homeschooling because of this?
No.
No?
No.
I wish that was the case, but no, I don't think so.
Even the learn from home situations where the teachers are teaching online and teaching the students online?
I think the barriers for some students might be lower for certain family situations, illnesses, that kind of thing. Which is what's ended up in my field is that you're actually less likely to take time off for being sick. You're more likely to work from home if you're sick, which I don't like. I think you might see that in education. They're not just going to send you home. They're going to say, oh, if you're going to go home, you have to make sure you tune in or do your homework online or whatever.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So you think it? See, that is a totally different scenario too.
I only thought of that because I'm jaded.
Yeah, but work following you home. We talked about this a couple months ago. A couple months ago where work has started following certain people home. Like employers are starting to track their employees and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but wonder, could this pave the way to unscrupulous businesses doing more of that?
I mean, probably, yes.
I don't know. I mean, the scenarios are very interesting. Like, it's just, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm ready to go. I'm ready for things to go back to normal. That's what I think.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to affect having more people stay at home and do homeschooling. I really don't, because I don't think it's that scary. And to be quite frank, like, people need their kids to go somewhere. A lot of people just need their kids to go somewhere while they're working
because they don't like their kids. Wait, that sounded horrible.
Well, okay, so if you're gonna homeschool your kids, at what age do you start?
Yeah, no,
because if you have both parents or a single parent, and that single parent needs to work those hours while their child is in school.
Well, it comes back down to that Elizabeth Warren.
You would only be able to homeschool, right? You would only be able to homeschool certain age groups that were mature enough to be able to stay at home by themselves and do the work. You can't leave, like the first through, I don't know, 7th grader or 6th grader at home and expect them to do all of this stuff and be safe. You know what I mean?
Back to my comment like an hour ago. Back to my same comment. For the last 100 years, people have been encouraged to make more money, not save, and to increase their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Again, two-income gap.
We've got to
change. Gap. We have to adjust something.
Yeah, something has to give.
This would not hurt as bad if we were prepared for this, and if we were functioning under one-income homes. And I don't care who's working. I don't care. I don't care whether it's the man working outside the home or the female working outside the home. I don't care. That's not the topic here.
I care, but
I know you care too.
Nobody cares what I think.
But I'm saying I don't care either way. I'm saying that we've gotten to the point in our country where families aren't sustainable without two incomes, and Elizabeth Warren had a point.
Yes,
I hate saying that.
Before she became absorbed by the neoliberal Borg.
Yes. Okay, guys. So speaking of the income gap, speaking of the loss of income, we got to hit it real quick. Trump's freedom bucks.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Why are you in favor?
I don't know.
Because
now hold on. This seems like a socialist. This seems very socialist on its front. Explain why it's not.
People that are staying home are doing so because of the chosen government response, justified or not. You need to think of it less as a bailout. You need to think of it as the government paying us to stay home.
Interesting.
My opinion.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So along those lines, this is my leery things about what I'm thinking is you're going to have to qualify to get this, and for people that the businesses do not close and you still have a job, are you going to reap the same benefits as the people who are literally just sitting on their butts all day doing nothing?
Yes. As at this time, yes. As far as we know.
Because I think
it could change.
Personally, I see this changing to include qualifications, and if you do not meet those qualifications because you're one of the lucky ones in quotation marks who get to either work from home.
I wouldn't be as excited
work
about
at a resale establishment.
Right. I wouldn't be as excited, but I think it would still be good. At this point, I'm like, whatever it takes. We've already, and like I told you guys yesterday, we've already spent in the last 10, 12 years, we've spent so much money. I mean, how much good has all that QE done us now?
Well, right. As I said at the beginning of the show, we spent $2 trillion in QE over the last week.
And here
that's
we are.
That's 10,000 to each person. That's 10,000 to each person. 2 weeks.
Right.
2 weeks, Tombstone. 2 weeks.
We've bailed out banks. We've bailed out Ford.
And again, I'm telling you guys, this is the reason why you need to have a lot of kids right here, is because if this opportunity comes up, you're going to make money.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm for it. I mean, I think the idea is less about means testing and less about who's been working for the last 2 weeks and more about get money moving, so that even if you have been working for the last 2 weeks, you can go spend that money in a restaurant or go buy a stereo or something stupid.
I'm putting
like
mine in the stock market. What are you talking about?
Put it in the stock market.
I'm still waiting for the catch. There's got to be a catch to this.
There may be. I mean, there's always free cheese.
Well, yeah. I mean, all conservative Trump supporters are now wanting free money.
But really, it's our money. But who's counting?
Andrew Yang was just too soon.
He was too soon
before his time.
It's like no wonder why Bernie got out of the race. Yeah. He's too conservative.
What we really need to do is pool our resources and buy out corporations that have caused this problem. But
which corporations caused this problem, Tombstone?
The Fed.
Okay. They're a non-profit, Tombstone.
I mean, I don't know how you would purchase.
They are a private non-profit.
Don't let's not even get into that. The creature from Jekyll Island.
What a disturbing beast we have created.
Indeed.
What a disturbing beast.
But
guys,
as I am fond of saying, I did not create this world, but I do have to live in it.
It's true. Or we have to sit on it. Sit on the front porch. Anyway, that was dumb. www.thefrontporchshow.com, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, anywhere else where you like to get your online content. We are there. We will catch you guys next week, maybe sooner. If we're all stuck in quarantine, you'll get us every day. And then you'll be forced to listen to us 2 hours every single day. And then you can't complain that it's too short or too long.
Don't say that like it's a punishment. It'll be fun.
Hey, we're social distancing. We are social distancing. That's why we're in 3 separate locations. That's why we don't,
That's why we're going to try and get inside of your home as many days and as much as possible.
We're 2 years ahead of schedule with our social distancing. All right, let it die. We'll see y'all later, so to speak.